So let's look at the beginning of the film. So my task as the writer and director at the beginning of the film is to get the audience to want to see what happens next. Okay, after the first shot, they want to see the second shot and the third, and they're into the film. That was my task. So how did I try to do that? Well, my first thought was let's begin in the middle of the scene as far as possible. And in another vlog, I'll talk a little bit about the script writing aspect of that. But I didn't think that would be quite enough. So I wanted to think, well, what's going to propel the audience into watching this? Perhaps they might not even notice that that's happening, but they're just curious enough to think, okay, yeah, I'll keep watching. Now, what happens in a lot of feature films and some short films as well is you often start with an establishing shot. There might not be very much going on in it. In fact, there usually isn't. If there's a figure, a person, they're probably not doing very much, maybe walking, maybe sitting. We're just finding out about them very slowly. And that can be a really great way to ease yourself into the film, because as an audience member, you're starting to look out for clues, for what's telling me where this person is, who they are, and what's their agenda going to be, and what are we going to be watching. So you're on the lookout for those kind of clues to start getting into the film. But that works much better when the audience is already invested. So if I'm sitting in the cinema, I'm very happy for things to start quite slowly, because I'm not going to get up and walk out having got my ticket and sat down. However, if I'm on a streamer or even online, there's always that danger. I'm thinking, okay, and move on. And even if I don't move on, there's that sense sometimes, I'm sure you've had it, thinking, oh, come on, get on with it. Okay, so what I wanted to do was to get that link into it. So the first thing I thought was, well, if you have an exterior shot of the house at night, maybe with the window, then you could get the audience to think, oh, what's going on in that house? I thought perhaps you first of all have the curtains open, you can see the two characters through the window, but I thought, no, that's going to have the wrong tone. It's going to feel like a kind of peeping Tom voyeurism thing. People might get the wrong idea about what kind of film it is at the beginning, which sends people off in the wrong direction. So I thought, oh, if you have the curtains shut, okay, but then is there enough curiosity? I thought maybe if we have the camera moving in slowly, okay, so the window's getting bigger and bigger, and the audience is going to think, we're going inside, okay. However, that's the audience being taken inside. That's not the audience actually being sort of compelled to want to be taken, okay. So then I thought maybe we could have the beginning of the scene, the dialogue, over the shot of the outside of the house. So you can start to hear them talking, you think, oh, let's see them. But I've never seen that done. So I figured there'd probably be a reason why it isn't done. It probably hasn't worked, okay? And I just couldn't sort of see it in my head as working. Then what I settled on was you'd have a sigh, okay? Her sighing, and then you think, oh, who's this? What's she sighing about? And then we're straight in there, and you get to him saying, why do we have to talk about our relationship? So we got Anastasia to record some sighs on the day, but I did find that there just wasn't enough noise, the sound of somebody sighing. That just probably wasn't enough to take us inside, or to make it feel that it wasn't some kind of accident when you couldn't see the person who was sighing. So we ended up asking her to do a sort of growl of frustration, just because there was a bit more to it. And she did one of those, and that's what we ended up using, okay, because I felt that had enough to compel us to think, oh, who's that? What's she growling about? Boom, we're in there. Now we're going to find out. Afterwards, I decided that we didn't need the outside shot. It wasn't worth going back to do it, and we could have it over the credits. So it goes, Yay Slayer Presents, the title of the film, your actual relationship, and while you're looking at the title of the film, you hear the growl, and hopefully you think, oh, what's going on? My worry about it was tonally, is it too broad, too comic, or too corny? But I felt generally, if it was a mistake, it wouldn't be too bad of one. And if I'm in doubt, I always think, what's not boring may well be okay, and always to avoid being boring. So the idea was to try to get us into the film quickly. I wonder if you agree that we got it right.